Hello, welcome back to Full of a Took. We're here for chapter 4 of the Two Towers, Treebeard, which I think it was longer than the Council of Elrond.
It did feel that way. But it was less dense. Like, it was an easier read compared to
100%.
Council of Elrond.
Yeah.
Yeah, it never felt slow to me. It was really fun and easy. There was a moment where I lost consciousness.
Wow.
And I found myself in the middle of reading on my laptop on Craigslist. And I was looking up stuff. And I was like, how long was that happening? Where am I? I was out for a second.
How many things did you buy?
Luckily, I minimized it before too many things caught my attention. But,
Okay,
you
good.
know.
I won a gold star for not making a hooker joke.
What?
About what you bought on Craigslist.
A hooker?
Yeah.
Who buys hookers on Craigslist?
Nobody anymore.
What are you talking about?
Oh, okay. Maybe you guys don't use Craigslist.
We have the Pennsylvania one. In Jersey, whatever the fuck's going on over there, that's up to you guys.
Previously in Chapter 3, Pippin and Merry were captured by orcs and held prisoner. During their captivity, the orcs fought amongst themselves, and Pippin managed to cut his hands free unnoticed. Ugluk, the leader of the Isengard orcs, won the fight and proceeded to take the hobbits on foot to his master Saruman. The men of Rohan, led by Eomer, attacked the orcs, and Merry and Pippin managed to escape into the Fangorn Forest during the slaughter.
What a chapter it was. I was saying I'm wearing my Rohan shirt.
Yeah, you are.
Solidarity for the riders.
Yeah, represent them horse
Eomer,
boys.
who came in and what was it?
Save the day.
The line they said about Ugluk, he like felled his head from his body, or
Right?
there was some graphic line that they said about him. I loved it. I don't know who Eomer is. We've sort of met him.
He's the leader of the men of Rohan.
Yeah, but
Third Marshal of the Rittermark. Come on. There was a paragraph.
Those are not descriptions of a person. Those are titles.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know anything about Eomer. I don't know what his eyes look like, how long his hair is, if he's mean or
He
nice.
has golden hair.
He has golden long hair.
Like all the rest of them.
Well, yeah, it was the tall blonde
Yeah, but
horse
they all
guy.
have like gold hair.
Right.
Legolas is like, they all have blonde hair.
But Legolas
Blondies.
only almost murdered Eomer for talking shit on Gimli.
Yeah.
That was the...
Yeah.
I just want to know more about him, you know?
Oh, good.
Oh, you
good.
will.
Good. You gonna learn.
But,
Not today, but you gonna.
you know, who are they really? Eomer, if you're listening, please write in. Tell us a little about yourself. We'll do a little interview, you know?
Perfect.
I can make it happen. I know the guy that produces
He can be
this.
our first guest.
Oh my God. A character call.
That's season 3, character call.
Oh my God.
Anybody listening, if you have a good character voice, feel free, fullofatookpodcast@gmail.com. Send them in. Send in some voice memos of you being characters. We would love to do a little fake interview.
Yes.
They're
Bonus
taking the
content.
opposite Isengard.
To Isengard.
To Isengard.
Jesus Christ, I'm surrounded.
Oh my gosh. Well, we might as well kick off this chapter. It's a heck of a chapter. No sense delaying it.
We have a really fun chapter, no matter how many hours it took you to read. But for being a very long chapter, it starts with action because it picks up on Merry and Pippin running through the forest for their lives. Because the last chapter we ended, the very last thing that happened was Ugluk was attempting a break out of the encirclement and beelining for the woods, which just happened to be where Merry and Pippin were sat. So they decided they had enough of orc time and they ran into the forest. So the chapter picks up on that and they are just running. And they need a second. Their little hobbit hearts almost give out because it's getting very stifling. It's very close. And they look at each other and they go, you know what this place reminds me of? The old Took's house. The place where when he died, they just didn't move the furniture for a century. And like you get the impression that it was also a place that maybe didn't get cleaned very much. Also, I'm hungry. Are you hungry? What do we got? And they rummage in their little pockets and they feel the crumbs of Lembas and we got fucked. That's what we got. We got fucking nothing. So they're just kind of wandering in the woods, lost and hungry. Because Merry maybe knows where they are, but he probably doesn't. And they see this like beam of light breaking the tree's canopy and shining on this rock face. And they're like, that'll be a nice place to die. So they make for it. And they climb up these like weird almost steps. And they get up to the top of this nice basking rock. And they're just like, they're living in the moment like little lizards. And they take a breath and they look around and like it's a little bit nicer up there because they can breathe. The air's a little more free. I look around and go, fuck this place. Well, maybe not fuck. It's almost nice. I want to like it in this moment. And so after they say that, this big voice from behind them and above them says, oh, you almost like it. Well, that's great of you. I'm glad. But honestly, if I'd known you were there a minute ago, I probably would have crushed you because you could have been little orcs. But you don't really look like little orcs. And in this moment of pure terror, Merry and Pippin turn around and there's this 14-foot tall, like tree trunk monster staring at them with enormous green eyes. And I say like tree trunk monster because it's literally this gnarled ass tree that was on top of the rock face. And it was just sitting in the sun, kind of gnarled, old, mossy, more than leafy. But now it's kind of like looming over them and staring at them. It's got 2 legs with like 7 toes on each foot. It's got 2 big arms and like this kind of like twiggy beard almost. And but like an old ancient face. It's man-like, it's troll-like. They are justifiably upset by what's happening to them. And this thing looming over them that just told them that he would have casually murdered them and then maybe mourned the mistake afterwards. It's like, well, what the fuck are you? And he starts rhyming at them. He's like, A is for aardvark, B is for bobcat, C is for regular cat. Yeah, it doesn't fit. And they're like, hobbits, we're hobbits. Hold-dwelling hobbits, that's us. H, skip to H, please. I think reasonably they ask, well, what the fuck are you? And I am an Ent. I'm the Ent. I'm Fangorn. But also I'm called Treebeard. Also, you really shouldn't go around telling people your names. Names have power. That's a dangerous thing you're doing. You should be more careful. That's not our vibe, Treebeard. I'm Merry. I'm Pippin. Oh, okay. That's what we're doing? He says, okay, well, I've had enough of my thinking rock. Because this is the rock where Treebeard goes to think about things. And he sits in the sun and he ponders the world around him and thinks about what's going on. He looks over at the horizon and he says, I wonder what the fuck Saruman is up to. I wonder what Gandalf's doing. I wonder what kind of bird that is. We learn a couple of very important things about Treebeard in this moment. 1, he's aware of the outside world. 2, he knows about wizards and he knows about Gandalf specifically. But also the hobbits don't really feel that fear and that surprise. Because even though this thing is an ancient troll-like monster, the eyes are old and deep. But they're bright and they have like a keen green light into them. And there's no malice. There's no anger. There's nothing negative in there. They're not afraid because despite the appearance of Treebeard, which is startling to say the least, his demeanor is not of violence or haste or quick decisions.
Which goes back to Prancing Pony.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They felt safe and comfortable.
Yes.
He was ugly, but nice. Mm-hmm. Much like our friend Strider.
Right. And this lends itself to, there's a gentle scooping of the hobbits.
He ice cream scooped them.
Yeah, just whoop. And he picks them up under each arm. And he says, we're going to go back to my place and figure this all out.
Like kittens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
How you would scoop a kitten.
So they're on the way to Treebeard's home, whatever that might mean. Because he didn't have a name for the hill he was on. He had to search for that word. Because to him, it's just the place where he does his thinking. He doesn't have a specific noun for it. Also, he had a song for all the animals. Treebeard is a thing unlike anything they've met. For lots of reasons, and not just because he's a talking tree. Because, even Old Man Willow was a tree. They did some kind of talking. Also some eating and a lot of murder. All attempted murders. But anyway.
Bunch of AMs.
I'm sure it's not related at all.
AMs and essays.
Jesus. Oh my God.
So they're on the way to Treebeard's house and he's just striding along, not really bending his knees, just sweeping, walking with the hips. The hobbits, they say, excuse me, but why would Celeborn have told us to stay away from Fangorn? And Treebeard considers and he said, because he's a fuck. Fuck that guy.
It took him way longer to say it though.
Yeah. Probably because he's a cunt. Because that's the other thing. Treebeard is talking at the speed of trees.
See you next Tuesday.
Unless it's like talking to a sloth that's base is way the fuck up.
Yeah.
Howard Stern level. Bass.
Yep. But and Treebeard says, so I'm assuming you came out of Lothlorien. But, honestly, I would have told you the same thing about going into Lorien because very few people go in and even fewer ever come out again.
Which is actually kind of similar to like Boromir said that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, do you remember exactly what they did to Gimli? They invited him in.
Yeah.
And they let him in. And then they said, we're going to blindfold you. And he said, fuck you, I'm out. And they said, actually, you're not.
Right.
Leaving is not an option.
Interesting.
Right. So there's truth to that, right?
Yeah.
Right. And so far, nothing in the Forest has tried to murder them.
Yeah.
Merry and Pippin, I mean.
But they're like friend to Galadriel, so.
Right. Yeah. So it's a little, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Because Treebeard has an opinion about Lorien and about Celeborn. Because apparently he used to have a longer name. The name Lothlorien used to mean the land of the valley of singing gold. Yeah. But then they shortened it. And now it's just the dream flower.
Yeah. He said Laurel Lindoren and that's what it used to be. Laurel and then
yeah, basically.
Exactly it.
That's too many
he was like Lothlorien's the dumb name. It's better off Laurel.
Nailed it.
Yep. That was it.
Yeah. So talking with Treebeard, you very much get the sense like it's like talking to an old man where you ask them a question and then you get a story.
Yeah.
And then that story leads into something else. And it's kind of, if you don't bring the conversation back, sometimes it can just wander. Yeah. So
who else do I know like that?
I don't know.
I told you this story to tell you that story.
I'm really upfront about that. So where the conversation goes is that he starts talking about like, well, it's not really fair of me to like talk shit on Lothlorien because, Fangorn has its fair share of weird, bad shit. There's some trees that are just bad. There's some spots that are just evil. And the hobbits are like, what you mean like the willow up in the old forest up north? And he's like, Treebeard's like, yeah, exactly. Just like that evil little fucking patch of woods up there nestled in the remnants of the great shadow. Which is a cool fucking statement about Angmar and the fallen kingdom of the north and sort of like how haunted as fuck everything north of the Barrow Downs is. What that does is that leads Treebeard to then explain where Ents come from. And apparently elves taught the Ents to speak.
What did he say? The elves removed our dumbness.
Yes. Like dumbness as in the inability to speak.
Inability to speak, yeah.
Right.
It also said they woke them up, like in the first place.
Yeah.
It made them sentient, I guess.
Yeah.
Like
wild.
Pulled that whatever that life was and sort of animated it a little bit further. Right?
So cool.
I love that because just imagine being immortal. You run out of people you or elves want to talk to, and you're like, I'm going to go to nature.
Yep.
And create a whole new being to talk
Cool
to.
looking rock.
The elves made them all like sentient, and then they were like, we're kind of done with you guys. You're boring.
Well, remember when they were in Holland and Legolas like just casually dropped like, I'm talking to the rocks right now, and no, they don't remember elves, right?
Yeah.
Speaking of which, we get treated to the sort of the rating system of trees, the categorization of all trees. You have regular trees, then you have sleepy trees that are kind of awake, maybe tree-ish, and then you go up into sleepy Ents, which are Ents who've just like kind of like, fuck this, I'm out, and just sort of like the world is boring. I'm going to take a real long nap and we'll see where it goes. And then you have a couple of Ents that are actually up, still walking and moving, talking, because they are the tree shepherds. And their interest, their charge, their function, for lack of a better word, is to guard and grow the forest. And he tells them all of these things as he again has scooped them like lost kittens and is walking through the forest to his house. 70,000 Ent strides. Another unit of measurement for us, folks.
I couldn't look this one up. Sorry.
Yeah.
He's a 14-foot tree. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing the math. But
Someone out there do the math.
somebody has. But I disagree with that math, so we're not doing that.
I love that you looked it up.
He had
I want to know.
He had to.
I want to know. It turns out, never mind. I'm not gonna shit talk anybody. But on the way, all of this storytelling and all these revelations are happening, and Merry and Pippin are just kind of like enjoying their weird ride through forest, because most importantly, Treebeard has indicated that he will possibly feed them, which is, I think, at the front of their brains right now.
Yeah.
Now that the shock of that near-death experience followed by a near-squish experience leads them to being walked through the woods and being told stories by Grandpa Tree.
And everybody knows when you check your Fitbit at the end of the day, or your Apple Watch, or whatever you got, and you've got 20,000 steps, you've been walking all day.
Yep.
They're at 70,000 steps. It's been a minute since they've eaten.
Right.
They're fucking hungry. Let's go.
They've like licked out the inside of their pockets. They've got all the crumbs.
He's like, he won't mind if I peel some bark off and chew on it a little bit.
Oh my God.
Just like, they're just like snatching birds.
That brown skin.
No.
That brown soft skin.
We're okay there. That's fine. God.
I'm just trying to make you uncomfortable. We didn't know that's what it is.
It's working. But
from whom? Brown soft skin for you.
we will talk about that. But please wait. I can't keep doing this. So all right. So they retreated to all of that on the way to the house, and they get to the house, and it's a lot like the elf hall that we were introduced to way back in the Shire with Gilder and Glorian. They come to this like open space, this open hall lined with trees in the woods, with the doors being two evergreen trees that part for Treebeard and like shaken. Like it is a magical place. Like this is some Sam is missing out on shit magic. And they go into this like grassy open space bordered by trees, and there's a rock wall with like this beautiful like waterfall shower thing going on. There's a big stone table. There's a big bed. Treebeard basically says, okay, story time. What the fuck's going on? Why are you here? Why did you go to Lothlorien? Why do you know Gandalf? I know Gandalf. Why do you know Gandalf? And so they explain about the riders. They explain about fleeing the Shire, and everything that's happened to them. Going to Rivendell, meeting Gandalf, Moria, Lothlorien, all of it. And Treebeard keeps going back to, no, tell me more about the Shire place. Tell me, go talk to me more.
You said there's trees there.
Yeah, it's like, it's an amazing, it sounds like a great place. And he kind of like, wow, yeah, that sounds exactly like the kind of place my wife would like to be. And they're like, what? And he's like, no, never mind. Keep going. Keep going. No, actually what he tells them is that the Ents and the Entwives are separated. So the Ents are the tree shepherds, and the Entwives were, the sort of their female counterpart. But they were more interested in things that we might equate to agriculture. Like they wanted order and like plenty and like quiet and peace. And really the Ents are just all about like fucking trees everywhere. Let's trees as far as the eye can see. And they had different priorities. They had different motives and desires. And so they grew apart, Ents and Entwives. And then finally got to the point where the Entwives were like, you know what? This is lame. We're going across the river. We're heading east over the Anduin. We're going to make our own garden. And they do. And it was this huge, gorgeous expanse. Treebeard has a desire to go meet, he has a sweetheart. He has an Entwife that he loves, but she's also gone over with all the rest. And so he goes to visit her, and he finds that during the course of the war, the War of the Last Alliance, Sauron at some point had just laid waste to everything. The brown lands, that endless garbage expanse east of the river, past the Emyn Muil, this empty fucking nothing, that's where the Entwives used to live. Are they dead? We don't know. Are they gone?
Lost.
They're lost. Are there stories about them? Yes. Is there rumor of them? Yes. But no Ent has seen an Entwife in almost 3,000 years.
Dang. That's how old the Ents are.
The Ents are older.
Wow.
Older.
Because he called Saruman young.
Yes, because he does talk
And
about...
I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah. So we'll get
He's
to...
thousands of years old. How old are you?
Right, because that's a question that Merry and Pippin have. They're like, "What? Who's Saruman? Can you explain like who or what the fuck a Saruman is?"
Yeah, they don't know anything about that, really.
No, all they know is that used to be Gandalf's boss. Then Gandalf, it was a bad thing, and then that's what happened.
And then whatever Ugluk said, or Grishnak.
Ugluk and Grishnak, and he's the master of the White Hand, and and they're like, "Oh, he's a bad guy now." Well,
but who?
Right, but who or what or where did he even come from? Well, it turns out Saruman has been a neighbor of Fangorn for a very, 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 very long time. After the first ships,
He was Saru Boy.
Saru Boy, yes. It's just a Saru Boy.
I'm just a Saru Boy. Nobody loves me.
He's just a Saru boy from a Saru family.
Oh my God, the Scaramouche, whatever it is. Kind of sounds like the Ents.
Faragon.
It's like the Ent language.
Very, very frightening. Someone full of lightning. That's it.
It's me, fucking lightning.
Saruman.
So Saruman used to be, and you're right, Treebeard does refer to Saruman as that, basically that young man over there, used to be a good guy, used to come in all the time, he was very respectful, he was curious about everything. But you know what, come to think of it, he never really shared any information. And now there's like orcs running around on all the secret roads I showed him through the woods and all this other bullshit. And you know what? Actually, fuck that guy.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it, fuck him.
I love the change of heart that Treebeard has in this moment. Where
He sucks.
Yeah, he was like, young Saruman. And then he's like, wait a minute. I don't like this guy.
Yeah. And he comes to this realization almost out loud with the hobbits as he's explaining who and what Saruman is. And he's like, wait, yeah, fuck him. He's plotting to be a great power.
In the great distance, through the trees and the leaves, Tom Bombadil. We don't like that guy. It's just a whisper on the wind comes through.
That's a good catchphrase.
Yes, Saruman. It really is. Because Saruman he has no love of living things. He uses them in the moment in the way he can. So he's cutting down trees, he's hacking into the forest, he's burning them in the furnaces. And you know what? Actually, he's made his own weird breed of orc. This weird little bastardized thing that is like an orc, except it can exist in the sun. It's kind of like a man. It's an orc. It's a man. Oh no! What is he doing? What fucked up evil has Saruman done now? And he starts saying, and you know what? Nah, we can't have that, because if he turns out to be a bad guy, then that means Rohan will be trapped between one bad guy and Sauron, because he knows the great enemy. He knows the great shadow. But one thing he maybe doesn't know about is the ring, specifically. We don't know about that because Merry and Pippin very much left that out of the story.
Right.
Because as Treebeard explained to them, he's not on anybody's side. The Ents are not on anyone's side because nobody's on their side. Nobody's really a friend of the trees. Well, except Gandalf. Gandalf likes the trees.
Yeah.
But not even the elves care for the trees in the same way that the Ents do.
Yeah.
Elves live in the forest. Ents are of the forest.
Yeah.
Ents are the forest.
Right. They literally
That's
are.
like their lobelia. Like their distant ant.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, leave that tree alone.
Yeah. So, but because
I'm related. She's a bitch, but
Right.
She's a birch, actually.
She's a birch.
Fuck that old willow. So
she's a bitch. She's a birch.
So even though he doesn't have a map, he starts getting real fired up. Because even though he doesn't have a map, he's like, but the men of Rohan will be fighting a two-front war because they'll have one asshole in the west and one asshole in the east, and we can't have that. You can't have two assholes, Chris. You can't. And he starts like thinking out, he's like, and we got to do something because we know, the Ents know that their time, they're basically done. No matter how this goes, they've always thought like, yeah, this is kind of, we're in decline. This is just the way it is. More Ents are getting sleepy. They're abandoning consciousness. Because Ents don't die naturally. They may die through mishap, or they may be murdered by orcs, which happens. But they don't die natural lives. They just kind of choose to abandon life or abandon consciousness. And they go back to being
just like trees.
Yeah. Of all the Ents that are still around and awake, because there's not many of them. There've never been many Ents. And there's not been a new Ent since, again, before the last war. There's really only 3 Ents that are still old in that way, that know the old world, that are aware of the before times, basically. And it's Treebeard. And then it's this guy who's getting real sleepy. And then it was this other one who lived closest to Saruman. And when Saruman and his orcs started cutting down trees and murdering Ents, he went up into the mountains, up into the high tree lines and the high places. And he's just he's out of it. He's out of the equation. So he's doing some quick arithmetic and he goes, you know what? Get some rest, kids, because God damn it, we are gonna have a moot. And the hobbits are like, I would like a meal. And so Treebeard obliges them and gives them what every growing hobbit, I guess that's what you are, thing needs. And it's water. But it's really nice water. It's very good. It's not sparkling, but it's real good. Treebeard is like, I'm going to go stand under that waterfall for a while. And, we'll leave in the morning. Where would you guys like to stand? And they're like, actually, we lay down to sleep. Treebeard's like, that's fucking weird. But I guess you can use my bed. Why does he have a bed? You can use my bed. Go ahead. Lay down. Have a little nap. So they do. They sleep through the night. The sun comes up and Treebeard gives them another round of waters. Only these ones are a little more earthy. There's a little more something there. Don't say it. It's nice. And
so what?
Nothing. You did perfect. And so he scoops them up again and they're off. And they're going where? To a moot, an Ent moot. And moot's an old word. It just means like gathering. And so it's going to be a gathering of the Ents because they have to decide what the fuck they're going to do about Saruman.
Yeah.
Because he's been this bad neighbor for so long. It's just been accelerating. And they've got to do something. And there's things going on with the great enemy and Gandalf has fallen. Like things have changed for Treebeard, even if they haven't changed for the Ents. And he's going to pull everybody together in one room and they're all going to hammer out what the course of action is. And so off they go. And they arrive eventually at this great bowl of a clearing in the forest. And it's lined with trees and there's a couple of entrances down. And by the time they arrive, other Ents are already there. There's been these weird series of moose calls in the woods, ooh, and Treebeard would answer with the same kind of weird hand horn thing, just yell, hey, I'm almost there. Cool. See
What's your name?
What's your name? Treebeard. Fuck you.
Fuck you, Ezekiel.
That's what I was thinking the whole time.
Oh my God.
Also, Treebeard, when they were sleeping, got up and went and saw some people too.
Yes. Yeah.
So he cheated a little bit.
But
he gave himself a little bit of an army of 10 to walk with.
Well, yes.
Tell your friends I'm having a party.
Yeah. So they get to the Great Dingle, as it's called. And you see that there are many flavors of Ents. And Merry and Pippin are surprised because they expected kind of for every Ent to sort of look like Treebeard in the same way that every hobbit kind of looks like another hobbit. But that's not so. The kinds of Ents are as varied as the kinds of trees. Some are thin, some are tall, some are huge, some are gnarled, some are evergreen trees, some are birches. There is a huge variety of trees. And it's interesting because it kind of cements the idea that Ents are tree shepherds. They are the forest. The Ents all make a great big ring, and Merry and Pippin are riding up on Treebeard's shoulders, and they sing these long rolling songs to each other in Ent-ish, in a language that you can't even begin to translate. And it takes forever, as it turns out, to say fucking anything in Ent-ish.
I imagine it like whale song.
Yeah.
Just
yeah,
slow and musical.
Yeah.
Just a little more bass.
name? Ezekiel. Fuck you, Ezekiel. So
if you don't know what we're talking about, it's an amazing video. Just search "fuck you, Ezekiel" on the internet, and it'll pop up.
Sorry, Ezekiel. But after hours, basically, an entire lifetime spent listening to this lovely whale song and all these like swaying trees talking to each other, Merry and Pippin are like, man, this is taking for fucking ever. And Treebeard's like, oh, fuck, you're still here? Yeah, we just about got done saying hello. And also I explained that you were not, in fact, orcs. And what a hobbit is, or that you're hobbits. And we basically agreed that that's a stupid name and we're going to figure something out later, but that's not what the point of this meeting is. Anyway, why don't you guys fuck off? So after this revelation, Treebeard follows up with, but I found you a babysitter. Go with Bray Galad. He's already made up his mind about what to do about Saruman, so he doesn't need to participate anymore. He's a bit of a hothead. And so, Merry and Pippin meet this tree, and they have a very nice introduction. They wander around the bowl a little bit, the Great Dingle, and then Bray Galad is like, I'll just take you back to my place, and you can chill there, and we'll
play some Xbox.
Right, we'll play some Xbox, and we'll let the old men talk. And Bray Galad explains like, oh yeah, I'm Bray Galad, this is that, and whatever.
Have you played
whatever.
Catan?
Yeah, yes, right?
I need more wood.
Wood for sheep.
For sheep. He's like, oh yeah. Well, the reason I know what I want to do is because Saruman and the orcs have killed a bunch of Ents I know and chopped down all my trees. Fuck them. I'm ready to kill. And he tells this quick story about how he had this gorgeous rowan tree garden and they were covered in berries and it was beautiful. And then the birds loved to go there. And then eventually the birds got kind of greedy and weird about things. And then the orcs came and cut down all the trees. And Bray Galad was ready to stomp over and kill them. And he's calling them all of these filthy names and cursing at them. And by the time he gets there, he's like, well, they didn't hear me because they're all dead already. But fuck them. And it was really weird to read that because Bray Galad does not go into how they died. But if you take a second and you look it up, rowan trees, their berries are edible, but only if you cook them. If you eat them raw, they're poisonous. So I'm wondering
if all
the
birds ate his friends and family, the berries from their trees?
No, the orcs. Yeah, well, birds used to do it, but then the orcs were just poisoned.
Oh, they killed all the orcs.
Yeah. Which is fine because then I'm sure he still stepped on them just for fun. But the point is that Bray Galad was one of these westernmost Ents that were of the people that were very close to Isengard. So he knows Ents that were killed by orcs that were killed by Saruman. He knows that this is a war that's coming and he's ready now. He's just waiting for all the old men to catch up. So for 3 days, they sit and wait for the Ents to decide what to do. And really nothing happens. Slowly, the roaring background sounds of the moot die down, and it's replaced by this drumming sound and this singing. And the Ents march up, and they're trucking through the forest in in 2 lines in double file. And Bray Galad and the hobbits come up what's going on? And Treebeard says, not joyously, but with great purpose and very, very energetic for an ancient tree. This is it. The Ents are marching to war. We have decided. Yeah. We are going to fix this. We are going to Saruman's house where he lives, and we're going to fuck him up. They're singing this marching song, the Ents are off to war, and it's pretty cool, but I'm not going to even try.
And they're they're hitting themselves as they run and creating a drum.
Yeah, it's this drum beat and this boom, boom, boom. It's really interesting. I got
chills in this part.
Right? It's kind of, isn't it an interesting kind of a counterpoint to
Moria.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who's beating the drum now? Now it's somebody we know.
There's a lot of polar opposites in this chapter.
So it's the Ents are marching to war. But Treebeard even acknowledges this might be the last march of the Ents. This might be it. They've come to the conclusion that they're locked in an existential conflict with Saruman. And when you're in a fight when someone wants to fight you, you don't have a choice at that moment. So the Ents have woken up to that reality and have decided that, yes, today is violence.
They're kind of doomed if they do, doomed if they don't.
Right. But fuck that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
May as well take it into your own hands.
Swinging.
Yeah. Him and all his little fucked up orc things. They're all going to get squished. And Merry and Pippin are like, well, we do know a little bit about Orthanc. We do know it has a big stone wall. What y'all going to do about that one? And we're given this interesting moment where Treebeard explains rather gravely that we're going to pull that place apart brick by fucking brick because we can crush rocks with these hands. We can and we will destroy that place. We will raze it to the ground. Those orcs are nothing. Trolls are nothing. Trolls are counterfeit Ents. These orcs are counterfeit elves. They don't fucking mean anything. We're going to go rip those buildings apart. We're going to drag down Saruman's tower, and he's going to answer for what he's been doing. And as they're moving, Merry and Pippin are looking around. There's about 50 Ents when they leave the moot. But by the time they get to this ridge that's overlooking Orthanc, overlooking Isengard, they look behind them, and it feels like the entire forest is moving forward with them. And they look over this ridge, and Tolkien says, and they see into the dark pit that is Isengard. And Treebeard says simply that night has come to Isengard. And that's the end of the chapter.
This chapter, despite being quite lofty, quite heavy to read, was so enjoyable. And also it felt nice to be in Fangorn Forest and feel safe, you know?
Yep.
Because you're kind of like, the last couple chapters, don't go in there. Bad things happen.
I loved this chapter. It reminded me so much of the Tom Bombadil chapter.
Yeah.
But minus all those red flags that I was like, oh, no, get out of there. You're in danger.
Green flags this time.
Green flags. Literally.
Honestly, yeah.
So I think that's really interesting, though, that we sort of have a new introduction to how water is sort of presented in this chapter. It plays a lot of roles throughout the whole chapter. They go to the house and they go later, and they have different kinds and all that shit. And it plays its different parts. But very early on, without even meeting Treebeard, we have Merry and Pippin who are like, oh my God, I'm so thirsty. My legs are tired. They're beat up. They were prisoners. They have a little sip of water and they don't even realize how fast they're healing. So I just thought that was really cool that the water has changed how we know it,
And I didn't even think of that parallel with the Nimrodal when they put their feet in it to sort of reinvigorate themselves.
Yeah.
Did anybody else notice that the way Tolkien wrote about the trees and the forest was very human-like? He really personified all the trees. I have a couple of examples. He said there were beards and whiskers of lichen on the trees. This was before they met Treebeard and knew what he was. The twigs of the trees were reaching out for warmth. There was an old stump of a tree that looked like the figure of some old gnarled man. The heads of the trees were marching down the slopes. This was all before they'd actually met Treebeard, their first Ent. And they even started this in the previous chapter where they said great trailing beards of lichen hung from the trees.
Yeah.
So I kind of picked up on that at the end of the last chapter and was like, oh, because, you kind of know where we're going.
Yeah, and it's a nice juxtaposition to how he described the old forest, which is very foreboding and creepy.
Yeah, you're right.
And felt very dangerous. And this already, you're like, here's an old gnarled man. And here's some lovely younger looking trees reaching for warmth. It was very it made me feel very comforted. It made me feel excited for them to explore this, new terrain.
Yeah, back to the old mystical fun magic from the
definitely
beginning.
felt like old mythology of fairies and dryads and all that stuff. It felt very old magic. Yeah.
Can I ask a question here? Is Treebeard someone of importance to the forest?
I mean, he shares a name with the forest.
He is the Ent.
He is the shepherd of the forest.
Ent, uppercase E.
Is his name Fangorn?
Yes.
One of his names, yeah.
Because he's like, I'm not telling you my name, but I'll tell you what they call me. So his name is Fangorn. So this is his forest.
Yeah.
His name keeps getting longer as he ages, sort of like rings on a tree.
That's so cool.
And
I love
so
that.
right now to say his full name would take several hours, and he was going to save him that.
So I think
He was being polite.
Yeah.
it's a bit convenient that they
What?
walked into the forest and found the king of the forest.
Oh, yeah. It was good luck.
We'd also be he's the shepherd of the trees, so he's going to keep watch.
All the trees talk to each other through their roots.
And the Ent-wash is important, right? And it's a body of water, and it happens to flow underneath this like rock face, but that doesn't have a name because Treebeard's bad at naming rocks because they don't count. And so, yeah, it is. Is it convenient? Yes. Can you kind of explain it? Also, yes.
But I also didn't want 200 more pages of them wandering and getting lost through this forest before they met Treebeard.
But I honestly, I was enjoying the character of Treebeard as soon as we met him. It felt like it was at first a random Ent tree. That this tree is named Treebeard. And I'm like, oh, cool, awesome. We met an Ent. I don't know who Treebeard is. This is great. And then he was like, these are like my woods. And I was like, ugh. Okay, well, in that case, it's very convenient that of the 8 million trees in these forests, they happen to just stand in front of you and say, I don't know if I like these woods. And that happened to catch your ear, and that borderline offended you, which made you say something. He didn't say anything before that. He sort of just was standing up for himself.
Well,
and
they were
for his
attracted
woods.
to a light, like a beam of light. And that was why Treebeard goes there, because he wants to soak in the light.
Like, that was the first time it really felt like Treebeard was placed in the chapter for
He was
them.
planted there.
Yeah. Oh, you fired.
I'm free. I'm going to talk about appendices.
I thought Treebeard was so much like Tom Bombadil in so many ways, so many parallels.
Yes.
In addition to having their initials be TB.
Right?
Oh, snap.
Oh,
Right?
Oh my.
Weird.
Is this the Tom Bombadil of Fangorn?
Kind of, yes, because it's also like was there at the creation, right? Like older than the First War. Operates separate from the affairs
Oh
of
my
men
God.
and
Is
elves.
Goldberry his Ent-wife?
I was kind of thinking
She has a
that.
different name with an F.
I was kind of thinking, like, what if Goldberry is the Ent-wife?
Holy shit.
Probably not, because she didn't look like a tree.
Fimbrathil.
Well, Tom,
her
that's
elven
how
name.
we all know
think,
that your display to the world can be altered,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
Do you think that who wins in a fight? Who wins in a fight?
Treebeard or Tom Bombadil?
Yeah.
Tom Bombadil runs laps around Treebeard.
You
I
think
don't
so?
know. I don't think
Easily.
Tom would want to fight. He's a lover, not
Treebeard's
a
like,
fighter.
stand still, I'm gonna smush you. And Tom goes, go to sleep, go to sleep. And Treebeard's done.
Maybe.
Oh.
Tom knows
Probably,
how
honestly.
to sing,
That would be a great
and
matchup.
Tom's
though.
words matter.
Okay, so here's the thing.
Tom knows how to
Right.
make things happen with his words. Treebeard does not. He just needs to slam into shit.
So yeah, I don't know who would win Tom Bombadil versus Treebeard. But speaking of fighting, Treebeard is definitely going up against Saruman. And I absolutely loved how he's brought up in this chapter when he's talking to Merry Pippin and saying how he knows him, young Saruman. He says he was chosen to be the head of the White Council, they say, but that did not turn out too well. I wonder now if even then Saruman was not turning to evil ways. At any rate, he used to give no trouble to his neighbors. I used to talk to him. There was a time when he was always walking about my woods. He was polite in those days, always asking my leave, at least when he met me. So he actually wasn't. And always eager to listen. I told him many things that he would have never found out by himself, but he never repaid me in kind. And at the very end, he talks about the last time he saw him. He says his face became like windows in a stone wall, windows with the shutters tight inside.
Ooh.
What an image. Like, I really thought about that, how he's got to see him going from this younger wizard, very,
Curious.
a curious, but also a very courteous neighbor, or seemingly so. A great listener. And then the last time he saw him, completely closed off, cold, like someone you don't want to have in your backyard.
Yeah.
Because I just imagine as like my neighbor were just like, I'd find them in my backyard. They're like, oh, do you mind? And you're
We've
like,
actually had that.
Well, yeah,
and I did not appreciate it.
I did mind.
we did mind. But no, that's what I kind of thought of as like this young neighbor that's seemingly a good neighbor. And then eventually the last time you see them, they're kind of an absolute asshole. He feels so betrayed.
I picked up on that too.
Yeah.
Just how like he used to have this nice young whippersnapper that would ask him questions and listen to his stories. And you know, what do old people love more than anything else?
Right.
Having somebody to listen to their stories.
Yeah.
And then it
Medicaid.
turns out that like he's just been using him this entire
And as he's
time.
telling the hobbits the story, he realizes that. It dawns on him in that moment. And then he's like, and actually the last time I saw him, his face was shuttered from me. It's a really cool revelation. Yeah.
He is a fucking asshole.
There's a nice little seed before the moot.
Yeah.
You know, he's already starting to build that fire within himself. Yeah. Which I never picked up on that the first time I read this. That was really cool to be like, oh, wow, it was right there. You know, the foreshadowing to where this is going to end up.
It's one of the coolest things about this project. And I've said it before, and it's like when you read something to enjoy it, and this is a book to enjoy. This is a story and a tale to enjoy. But when you read something more deliberately with the intent that you have to explain it, you have to discuss it, you have to have something to talk about after having read this thing, it changes the way you perceive the writing. Even just a slight turn to a critical read shows that underneath of an interesting story and tremendous world building, there's a very talented author at work. And that's what carries this. That's what's carried this story for how long? Over half a century, right?
Well, I would expect this talented author to show their talent by being truthful. But Tolkien showed his talent through lying. He had Pippin lie.
Oh, it's Pippin.
I mean, yeah.
Did Pippin lie, or was Pippin just wrong?
No, Pippin lied.
Wait, what is he lying about right now?
Pippin lied.
It was a rhetorical question.
That might work somewhere else.
Was he
But
trying?
here Pippin lied. Because Treebeard says, oh, you know Gandalf?
Oh.
Oh.
How do you know Gandalf? And Pippin jumps in and goes, we're great friends. In fact, and he goes on this diatribe of how great of friends they are. And I just wanted to point out the last two conversations that happened between Gandalf and Pippin are recorded in the books. And the most immediately last one was he called him a fool of a took and to throw himself into the well, right?
Yeah.
When in Mines of Moria.
Yeah.
And the one before that, Gandalf says, I'm going to use your skull to break the door down.
Yeah.
Yep.
Not friends. Never been friends.
to be fair, after Gandalf tells Pippin to go kill himself,
That's what happens, basically.
he says, "Oh God, just go to bed." And then he has this smoke on his pipe, and he's like, "Oh, this is just what I need. I need to calm my nerves." But maybe this is just how Pippin's processing the trauma of getting Gandalf killed. Is he's reconstructed this memory?
Maybe.
Oh, no.
Well, also, I don't know about you, but if you meet someone and you want them to like trust you and be your friend, and you have a mutual acquaintance, maybe you don't.
You play that up.
Maybe you're not best friends, and be like, "Oh my God, I love that person." Just
It's
to be like,
exactly
we have a
what
common ground here.
manipulating gaslighters do.
Oh
That's
my
what they do. They
God, we've
play
all
up.
done that in our lives. I don't care who you are, you've done it.
But what you definitely don't do is, I killed that guy.
Yeah.
He called me a
fault. He's
fool. I'm
dead.
gonna throw myself into a well last time.
So that was something that stood out to me. It was just like the prior chapter. Pippin's a bit of a hero.
Right.
And they start this chapter with Pippin being a liar.
If that's what the hobbits would say.
That is what the hobbits
We
would
only
say.
heard the Hobbit's POV.
Yeah, that's true. History is written by the winners.
Or at least the whiners. Depends on if there's an H or not.
And maybe an extra N.
Yeah.
Mind your H's and N's, folks.
Is WINERS not winners?
No.
What is it?
A word
that
that does
again?
not exist.
WINERS.
No, it's
No, that's whiners.
but without an
Whiners.
H.
Winners has two N's and
Yep.
no H.
Agree to disagree.
Oh, real quick before I move on. No, real quick, and I'm going to be annoying and bring this up again. I had to laugh out loud. Once again, Tolkien has described an Ent as having a thick leg. This man loves a thick leg. You know how writers always have something? Like, his is a thick leg.
Yeah. Well,
I bet you Tolkien had the thinnest legs. And then every time he wrote about leg, he was like, those are thick legs. That's right.
But all my favorite fantasy writers, especially, always have a thing. Like my girl Rebecca Yarros in Fourth Wing, she's always saying scrambling for purchase. They they something for purchase. Like purchase is her word. I'm like, okay, I've had this in here 18 times in this book. His is thick leg.
the thing that I did not like about the writing in this chapter was that he kept describing the skin of the Ents. And like I think
Silky, soft, brown.
right. It's like it's supple, and it's like he's making the point that these are creatures that can flex. They're not just a tree. There's more to them. There's something slightly different about them. But he kept going into weird detail about stuff, and I was
Very
just
odd
like,
detail, very
Well,
specific.
I got to be honest with you. I don't think it's that odd. What you do is when you're a teenager and you have a knife, you carve things into trees.
Oh no.
oh yeah, okay, that's right.
And you peel bark off and you see. That's what you do because trees are impenetrable without a knife. And you find that underneath the bark is the softest, most smooth thing ever. And then that's the beauty of it, is as soon as you do it, you feel bad. Like if you people who carve initials into trees, like as soon as you do it, you see like the juice come out. And you realize it's like a watermelon below it. And you're like, oh my God, like, I kind of feel bad that I like cut into it, you know?
I got a kick out of when they said some of the trees have bad hearts.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's funny because like the interior part of the tree is called the heartwood.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't
And
know
then,
that.
so the heartwood is like fully dead wood. And then the outer
Heart
ring.
wood?
Heart.
At the
Not
heart of the
hardwood.
tree.
Yeah. And then the outer ring is the sap wood where the sap flows. And that's like the vessels of the tree.
Interesting.
In that vein, I also like that Tolkien took a second to explain that Treebeard knew a bunch of willows, and they were just the nicest trees. They were so nice.
Yeah. Except for one fucking dickhead.
One fucking guy.
Yeah.
Old Tommy Boy's friend.
Right. I'm just saying, we haven't met any evil trees in Fangorn's end of the world. But Tom
we've
Bombadil's
only
got
met
the
two.
biggest asshole in the world living next door and doesn't do anything about it.
Yeah. The one thing that really stood out to me, and I don't know if you guys caught this, was when they talked about Saruman. Treebeard called him, well, he didn't call him this, but he said that he suspected Saruman of wanting to be a power with a capital P. Right? Which stood out. He wanted to be a power. And that got me really interested in sort of like, oh shit, like I kind of had talked about this before, but sort of like when words feel unnecessarily capitalized, this was necessarily capitalized. And I felt it. Then that made me think about Grishnak's point of view. When he hears Ugluk talking about like, I have to obey Saruman. Grishnak is like, what are you talking about? We all serve Sauron. And Ugluk's like, I serve
The White Hand.
the White Hand. He's trying to be a power. I thought it was so funny because that's kind of when Merry and Pippin are like, well, I feel like we should go fuck with Isengard. And Treebeard's like, yeah. And Merry and Pippin are like, I always wanted to fuck with Isengard. Like they're like talking shit. They're like lying out their asshole. But they're like, yeah, I think we should go to Isengard, like to each other. And they're like pumping each other up. And then right after that, the whole tone switches. Because Treebeard's like, Entwives.
Let me tell you a story.
Oh, I love this part.
And Merry and Pippin are like, what? And then he talks about the saddest fucking thing.
Yeah.
I felt like I had to read it a couple times to understand it.
Same. Yeah.
But I got the feeling there was like the Ents were like the wanderers, the nomads. Like I'm not going to say they desired power, but they just desired greatness. You know, they wanted the woods to be amazing and big and the big, most giant trees.
They were classic wives. They just wanted more.
No, that was the men that wanted more, Chris. You're not listening.
Yeah.
No. I think you're right. Like
The Ents,
And then
honey, not
on
the wives.
on the flip
the wives
side-
were the opposite. They
Yeah.
wanted to stay still. They wanted to control.
They were gardeners.
They wanted control. They wanted beautiful flowers and
They were
gardens,
settlers.
great gardens.
They wanted to settle down and have a home where they could live in peace. But the Ents were more of
wanted a
nomads
6,000 square foot
and
home.
explorers, and they just couldn't stay home.
Yeah.
Which I have a funny thought about all of this that I again only picked up this second read through. It says the Entwives ordered them to grow according to their wishes and bear leaf and fruit to their liking. Like, they're very bossy. And at one point, and I can't find it, so I'm not going to rustle through the book, but it sounds like they told the Ents what they were up to, and the Ents were too busy looking at larger trees and exploring. They forgot what they said. And so when they went to go get them, the wives were like, we're going to go here and do this and do that if something happens. And they were like, where are they? Which is so classic of a
They lost
stereotypical man and wife when you're doing chores and you tell them something important you don't put on the calendar. And then they have no idea. It's gone. It's gone from their memory. And I feel like this is what's happened to them for 3,000 years. The wives are still planted somewhere waiting. What the fuck is taking them so long? And they will not go searching for their husbands. I think it's hysterical. I love this part of the book.
To
chapter.
be fair, the Ents have searched all of Middle Earth for them.
Well, they searched the one place that they used to be.
They didn't know about they searched a lot of places, but they didn't even know about the Shire.
Correct.
So
They have searched all of Middle Earth that they know about.
But what I love about this is that in relating this story, Merry and Pippin are like, oh, it's so sad that they all died. And Treebeard is like, I didn't say they died. I said we lost them. They're out there somewhere. We just haven't found them yet.
Which is exactly how a mother reacts when their child is taken and they're on a milk carton and it's been 24 hours and the police are like, they're dead.
Yeah.
And the mom's like, they're not dead. But it's been 3,000 years, 5,000 years, whatever it's been. It's been thousands of years, you know? And, they're dead. We can all say it. We can read it. We can read between lines. They're dead for sure.
We don't know.
We do know. They were the Brownlands. They were wiped out.
That's where they were.
That's where
And some people said they went to the
They
south.
are no longer there because they are called ashes now.
No, some people said they saw them leaving south.
That's a lovely
Others
type of
said
tree,
east.
and that's fine.
Ent-ishes. You are drawing a conclusion to something that is left very much open, but I think that there is definitely in the writing, there's places to read that this might just be denial, but it's not. It's absolutely not clear,
Right.
and that's really beautiful and really fucking sad, no matter how you slice it.
Yeah.
And they start talking about this tree afterlife where they're all going to meet at one point and be together again when everything is
It's
over.
like there's a song about it, and it's it's
fucking dumb.
well.
You're fucking dumb.
Once we all meet in the tree afterlife is when we get to hang. What the fuck are you talking about?
I don't know, man.
This is the time that you're alive. You're not elves. You don't get on a boat and ride off to Valinor or whatever the fuck it's called.
Here's a question: what happens to an Ent at their that we've seen? Right? How does an Ent end their
It
consciousness?
becomes a tree.
They go to sleep.
Yeah.
What do you do when you sleep? You dream.
Oh,
Or someone cuts you down.
Yeah, we don't all get murdered in our sleep, though. Not every night.
Not every night. Or you get set on fire.
That's
Like Sauron did. Or he fucking said all the Brownlands did. So all of their wives were like, we're going down for the deep, dark sleep. Whoop, whoop, whoop. And then, boom, they were turned into lumber.
Yeah, honestly, it ain't great because, again, if you check the map, they're trapped between Mordor and southern Mirkwood.
Yeah. They're not that far from Fangorn. Fangorn would have found them if they stayed there. And there's a chance they may have left. For sure, there's a chance they may have left. They said there's chances that people saw them going south, going east, going all the different directions. All great. But I don't know. How fast does a tree move if they're doing 70,000 steps in one day? I don't know if...
Pretty fast.
you have to remember the wives were bent and brown from their labor. They weren't these tall, majestic
I was just going to
trees.
say, they were not the same.
They had fantastic gardens they were ordering around.
Yeah,
They were very
They
strong.
were
Men
not
sang-
interested in stomping on their gardens. Dude, Treebeard doesn't...
Their gardens were so legendary, they're in
Treebeard
song.
literally says to Merry and Pippin, I would have just stepped on you because I don't give a fuck what I step on. I
Not
just
really.
walk forward and I could have killed you.
No,
What does that have to do with the wives?
The wives are not going to be like that. They're going to be meticulous. They're going to be.
They're gardeners.
If they're leaving,
Yeah,
they're going to pay attention to what they're walking. They're going to walk around things. They're not going to just squish everything they walk on the way the Treebeard is. So I think that they would take them a little bit longer of a time to get out. In which case, if Saruman was just going and the whole thing caught on fire, it might take him a second to get the fuck out of there.
Your impersonation of his magic was one of my favorite things you ever done.
He was like, and it happened.
No, but my last thought on them is when, the hobbits are telling them about the Shire and he gets really excited. He's like, have you seen Ents? And they're like, no, Ents? And he's like, Entwives, I mean? They're like, what? I think that's so cute to imagine that they are there pretending to be trees. And every time the hobbits go to sleep, they're the ones tilling their fantastic yards and gardens. Like, you actually asked that question, who's doing the grass?
Yeah.
That little hobbit, he's eating, sitting around all day. It's the Entwives.
Oh my God.
They're the hidden gardeners.
Is the willow tree an Entwife?
Definitely
God.
not.
Oh, no, that
But,
was
like,
a male
temperamental.
presence.
No, I love the idea though that like the hobbits, because it's like a really insular society. The hobbits think they're amazing gardeners, but they don't do anything, and they have nobody else to go like, what do you mean you don't do anything and the garden is just nice every day? What? Do you know how to cut a lawn?
Right.
I'm like, what do you mean?
They're
It's just
landscapers or
nice.
Entwives. Could you imagine? That'd be so funny.
What is that? The Shire?
It might
Just,
be.
you know?
We don't know.
And that would explain why the Ents never found them. I have an alternate theory for why the Entwives left. There's a quote when the march comes through, and it says, "We Ents do not like being roused, and we are never roused."
Oh no.
Maybe that's why the Entwives left. And that brought up another
Or
important
maybe why
question.
the Ents let the wives leave.
I don't know. But the real question, do Ents get morning wood?
This is a PG rated podcast.
It most certainly is not.
Keep your fucking mouth clean.
I'm wondering what Pat's thinking
So let's
right
talk
now.
about Morningwood.
Pat doesn't look
so
proud.
funny.
I hate this.
You're ruining my life.
I invited you here to share something beautiful.
I was gonna say,
I gave you my heart. You gave me shards of glass.
so Laura, I now understand why they sleep standing up.
There you go.
How else are people supposed to climb?
Oh gosh.
You gotta grab the low branches.
That was what he said.
Yeah.
From whom? I said it backwards. From whom? Read 20.
Oh geez.
Merry and Pippin are like, let's go! Isengard!
They're so fucking in.
Yeah.
They're in.
They
Because
are.
they were like, we're going to die otherwise.
Yeah, they
so
have
what's the
no
point?
idea what they're walking into.
Yeah.
No,
Also,
fucking
the
clue.
orcs
They
changed
didn't
them.
even know what Saruman
But
was.
don't you see the symbolism there? That Merry and Pippin share the same fate as the Ents.
Yeah.
In that moment, they realize that if we do nothing, we die. So if we just try to do something, we'll at least die with purpose. Merry and Pippin are going to die if they are not pursuing something.
Because
They're in
they
the
don't
middle
have-
of nowhere.
Because they don't have any food.
Yeah, there's no food. They're like fucking
along for the ride.
1,000 miles from home. You know what I mean? Like they're not in a good place to be. So even if they never met Treebeard, they'd be dead in a day, 2 days maybe.
Well, so,
Something would get them. You know?
but also, and I think this bears mentioning, this is how they can contribute to the fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they know that Saruman is an enemy at this point, and this is the only way they've been presented with a chance to contribute.
Once again, the Lord of the Rings is basically Les Miserables.
Oh my God.
Because if you're gonna go down, you might as well go down swinging.
Do you hear the hobbits sing?
I think it's time for a little treat.
All
Yes,
right.
please.
Yep.
Food for
one's-
thought.
This one's fun.
Do we have one?
Yeah.
Fucking right. Let's
do
go.
So this is my take, or really the internet's take, on the Ent-Draught Okay.
Ooh.
So last week I made you the orc draft, which was meant to be as disgusting as possible, and you fuckers loved it.
Loved it. What does that say about us?
So this week
We are
have-
degenerates.
You are degenerates, and I love you for it.
Hold on. Before you describe what it is, or before you tell us what it is, what I'm looking at is 4 like delightful little like what are these like cocktail glasses?
They're little like mini martini shot glasses.
Yeah.
Right. And they're
That RJ
filled
provided.
with a clear liquid.
They're from the
Clear liquid.
70s.
Right.
They're
that's
from
fine.
IKEA,
They're vintage.
2008.
But when is that Everclear from?
Uh-oh.
There's Everclear in here?
I thought it was vodka.
You ready for this?
It's water.
So it's really special water, okay? So this is a herbal distillation. So this is, you take a pot full of like tea, you put a bowl in the middle and you put the lid on upside down and you let it boil so that all of the flavored water distills into the cup or the bowl, whatever. And so this is like, it's basically tea, but it's clear.
Oh.
Oh fuck.
So it's like very, very lightly flavored water. So you're not wrong, but it's going to be pretty cool. And this is meant to evoke the smell of a distant wood borne from afar by a cool breeze at night.
I can't wait.
Cheers. We're going to try this. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Ooh, it does have flavor. That's a flavored water.
Oh, that's wild.
If I ever tasted one.
It's nice, right?
That is really nice. It's what I'd expect to have at a spa. Like when I'm getting ready for massage.
Yeah, it's kind of
It's
like
like
infused water.
Somebody gets out of like a hot tub and you just like scooped up a little of that water.
That's nope, that's not it
It
at
tastes
all.
way better than
it's
that.
not that.
Nope.
It's not a soup.
This is not a human soup.
But you let it cool. Just
Yeah, it does. It's got a. It's like. It's
there's
almost
like a
there's-
perfumey.
Yeah,
mess to it.
like really nice sunscreen.
yeah,
Good
like
teas kind of have
it
a
doesn't
perfume.
smell
Yeah.
like a natural thing. It smells like a supernatural thing. It's like
This is amazing though.
It's got
So
a
there's
Very
like,
nice.
you know.
I used green tea with jasmine, and
Was
then
that
this
petroleum jelly?
Yeah, petroleum jelly.
You got that.
Where did that come from?
Better record that.
I feel very refreshed.
You're an animal, Christopher. You're a fucking animal.
Delicious.
Thanks.
Petroleum jelly. What the fuck is wrong with you?
What is that, Johnson's?
Oh my God.
Diesel fuel.
I fucking love it. It's delicious. I said I loved it.
No, it is amazing.
All right, that feels like a great place to wrap up chapter 4 of the
Yeah.
Two Towers. Chapter 4.
Yep.
We're 4 chapters into the Two Towers. I can't believe it. I feel like we're flying. To be honest, though, this was a slow chapter. But the next one, we're going to kick it into high gear. We're going to get through it pretty quickly.
Hopefully.
At least that's what Spotify tells me. Yeah.
That's helpful.
Yeah. Yep.
Did you look ahead and see what it's called?
No, what's it called?
Ooh, the next chapter is chapter 5 of the Two Towers, The White Rider.
Ooh.
The White Rider?
The White Rider.
Like the rider? The White Rider?
No, rider,
Rider.
like on your shirt.
The White Rider.
This sounds
All right.
ominous.
It's once again another opposite, a yin and a yang.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, thanks so much for tuning in. This is another great chapter of The Lord of the Rings. We're reading the Two Towers. Next week, we got The White Rider, which is chapter 5. Make sure you follow us online and subscribe to any of our social media channels if you're listening to this. We also got a YouTube channel. We put all of our episodes out, full videos. You can watch them. If you don't want to watch them, you can also just hit play and just put them on in the background. Then, click away from them, do your emails, whatever you need to do. But
Check Craigslist.
I just want to say that we're putting a lot of effort in for as many channels as humanly possible to access this content. We got a book and a half left. Well, a book and 9/10
Three
left.
quarters.
We're moving and grooving. There's actually way more chapters in the Two Towers than I'm making it out.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's so
Yeah.
important to share literature with the people you love
Yeah.
and with new people every day.
And complete strangers on the internet.
Exactly.
Yeah.